Hey, it's Tim Brown again, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to create a section with 3 featured boxes on your homepage or anywhere else today in HTML. And so, a couple of the key pieces include getting a little bit of a shadow around the box, maybe making an image at the top and some text, maybe a subtitle underneath the image. So let's get to work. So I just took a little practice on this. This is what we're kind of going for, was like an image and then this little text, a little bit of a subheading and some text. I undid it so we can see it without this piece. Let's take a look here. We had done the columns before, and the columns, if you followed along on previous videos, I'm just going to kind of pull this stuff over here. So the columns look a little bit like this. We already wrote this, but I'm going to rewrite it for your benefit now if you weren't following along in the earlier video. So width is colon 33%. We had background color green in the previous videos. This time we're going to do background color white. And then we're going to display inline blocks so that they don't stack on top of each other. Display block would mean that they stack on top of each other. And we are going to learn how to do that when it moves to a mobile size browser, which we'll be talking about in a video coming up here shortly. So we've got the 3 columns, right? Let's go ahead and Command Save and take a look what that looks like. Alright, so you see 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. This time they're white, so it's not super obvious. But what we need to do here is add a little bit of an interior box. Let's get rid of this. This is the second section because that's not going to look that good anyways. So we need an interior box here because we want to make it div class equals interior box, because we want to create like a little box with a shadow around it in the inside. So I need to close that div, right? I'm tabbing out our paragraph. So we have ordered code, and let's add an H2 here as well. H2 subtitle. And actually what we're going to do is create an image right here. So image, and I'll show you an example of a way to get a another example of a way to get a placeholder image. If I go to lorempixel.com and I set the width and I set the height and I say what category I want, I can say okay, color image. That's ugly as hell. Some of these are pretty ugly, so I'm just gonna skip them. Okay, here's one. Copy image, or copy image address actually, and I can use this as a placeholder in my code. It's a nice way to get a quick placeholder image. So I'm going to say image source, or src equals quotes, close quotes. I'm going to drop that link in here for the placeholder image, and then I'm going to close the tag. And then beneath that, I'm going to actually have one more div. So we're going to nest another div here. We're going to say class equals box text dash text. I'm going to close that. I tab the content out, the H2 in the paragraph, and I'm going to close that div after the stuff. So when I've got this essentially what I want as far as text goes, so I'm just going to copy and paste this twice more, and just for demonstration purposes I'm going to say 2 of 3 and 3 of 3 on these boxes so we can kind of see what we're working with. I'm going to Command S, save that. We don't really have much going on yet because we haven't styled that stuff. We do have an image that looks like trash a little bit, and we have subtitle and some subtext. So what I'm going to do here though is I'm going to take that H2 and I'm going to give it, font size of 22. I don't want it as big as that header text that we set up here, but I want it to have the same font. This right here. So I'm going to say font family tungsten rounded bold that we set in the previous one when we added fonts, and the text transform of uppercase. And I'm also going to say we want to style that interior box. This is where we're making it somewhat interesting, because we're going to add a box shadow. We're going to say 0 pix, 3 pix, let's go with 10 pix, and then hashtag CCC. So we're looking at the spread, or the amount of pixels of color, and then the spread, and then the color, which this is a light gray, so we're going to have a light gray shadow. And we want this width to be 90% of that column, right? We don't want it to be massive. We want the width to be 90% of the column, and we're going to say margin 0 auto. What does margin 0 auto do again? It centers the box. So we're centering that box within its column. Command S. One thing I'd say is, even if you're not fully understanding what is going on, I'd suggest trying these things and seeing what they do, messing around with them, playing with them, because the more you actually get in there and mess with code, the better you're going to be. So I hope no one's just watching this chilling out right now. You should be trying it, and then you can play around with it, because this is just a starting point, just to get you kicked off. And I hope some of this is exciting. Some of it I know is a little boring, but it is exciting when you're able to create stuff that ends up making stuff you can see and is fun. That's what I like. That's what I get energized by. All right, so let's get back here. We've got that interior box, right? We've got the 3 columns. You see how this is structured. And what I'd like to do is I realized that I want to create a container. So I'm gonna actually copy, and within this second section, I'm gonna create a container. I'm essentially going to create a container around this second section so that these 3 columns are created within the container rather than being full width. I like these having a bit of space on either side. So right now this is what we've got. We've got these things within a container, but these images are still coming crazy out here. So what we need to do, we've got a decent looking subtitle, right? But we need to make sure that these images are kind of contained. So what we're going to go back here and do is we're going to say interior box, and then we're going to say IMG. So the image inside the interior box has a max width of 100%. Max width is a wonderful attribute that I think that you'll find very useful, so that these images don't go crazy out here. So let's take a look at what that looks like. All right, now we've got it going. The only thing I'm missing right now is box shadow. It looks like I accidentally added 2 D's here, so I'm gonna get rid of that D. Command S. All right, so we've got the general idea of these 3 boxes. What I need to do is add something to the 3 columns so that they are, I want to make sure, actually, you know what, I'm going to add a class to container and say second section, and instead of adding a margin to the top, I'm going to do it a little bit in a little bit more clean way. Say second dash section, padding 40 pixels on the top and bottom, and then space 0. I don't want any pixels, I don't want any padding on the interior of that section. I'm going to Command S, and then one last thing. So let's just take a look at what that looks like. So you see it spaced out these boxes beneath and allowed us to have a little bit more of a clean look. See how that works? Okay, and then lastly, what I need is some space around the edges here. So what do we need to do? We had created that interior box for the text, box text, but we need to add a little bit of style here. Box text. We're going to put padding on that text so that it's cleanly within that box and looks kind of neat and ordered. So there you see it. We've got image and text. You can add some content here. You know, we're essentially starting to get a little bit of structure to this page. We've got the subtitle and the paragraph, so on and so forth. I think somewhere along that process, we got this H2 up here to have this text, and I don't like that though. So one last thing before we go, how would we mitigate that kind of issue? If there's some text here, I don't want it to have that font. I might go up here and say, make this H2 a little bit more specific and say, how about only on interior boxes? Interior box space. So only the interior box is gonna, that H2 is gonna have this text or that font. So now we've got this back, and then our H2 down here has what we want. You know, it might look a little bit better. I'm going to do one last thing. I'm going to make the interior box H2 to have a 30 pixels instead of 20, so it's a little bit bigger. So there you have it. There's how to create 3 featured boxes in HTML and CSS. And I believe that those general principles are kind of a good starting point for whatever you need to create as far as some featured boxes and with images, title, and some subtext. Good luck, and I'll see you on the next video.